Good evening and welcome to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated first on 93 WIBC. Let's not beat around any bushes. We've got work to do. Graham Platner, the guy who won the nomination, he won the primary for the Senate Democrat primary in Maine. He's the guy they have picked, the voters picked to go up against Susan Collins. He's done. He's finished. It's over. He's cooked. Why is he cooked? Because there were scandal after scandal after scandal that came up about this guy, in which he lied about having PTSD. He said, I have PTSD because Susan Collins sent me to Iraq. And then we found out that no, he came home and he turned around and then went to work for Blackwater, the most bargain bin of private military mercenary groups. And then he proceeded to, over the next couple of decades, message, flirt with, abuse, and now we're finding out sexually assault various women on the left and right from DC to Maine. He's lied about everything, and I mean he has truly, just scandal after scandal after scandal has popped up on this guy. I actually created a small list today because at this point the list is just insane. So the allegations so far include domestic abuse, kidnapping, cheating on his wife with other women, and possibly with minors, because he had and has an active messaging account on Kik, the social media application that was built for minors and adults to chat anonymously, in which his profile picture was him in a towel. That account is still active, but now that profile picture has been taken down. He has said previously that women deserve to be sexually abused, has said that veterans deserved to die, and has also lied about his Totenkopf Nazi tattoo, when he had it, when he got it, who knew about it, who didn't, having PTSD, joining Blackwater, and his oyster farm. Because it just so happens that in August of 2025, he launched his Maine Senate campaign as a populist outsider, but a couple of months beforehand, he had actually launched a website for his running for Maine Senator campaign. But it gets worse, because a couple of months later then, he puts up a little website for his oyster farm, because he was going to run as being this down home of the earth kind of man who gets up in the morning and does some oyster farming. So he had to create a website to prop up his fake oyster farm business. And why do I say fake? Because all of the oysters are sold to his mommy's restaurant, who doesn't even get enough oysters from her little baby boy's oyster farm for her own restaurant. She has to get the rest of them from Sam's Club and Costco. So not exactly great off to the start. Now, this brings us to June of this year. So again, after all of the Reddit posts emerged, sexually charged, porta potty comments, etc., after, in May 2026, the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times reporting Platner sexted other women during his marriage. He got married in 2023. Early June of 2026, the New York Times reported that ex-girlfriends have called him volatile and intimidating. One of those individuals, who is a friend of mine, Lindsay Fifield, she had made the decision to, after a lot of pestering from the New York Times, come forward with details about domestic abuse, in which he had engaged in the legal definition of kidnapping. He shoved her into a room and then held her inside the room by holding the door closed, preventing her from leaving after she felt threatened. That would be the definition of kidnapping. He grabbed her, supposedly leaving bruise marks. Not good. And this comes into today, July the 6th, 2026, when a new article from Politico, written by also a friend of the show and one of the authors and reporters, and I should say the national correspondent for politics over at Politico, Adam Wren. And it is one of the most insane articles. A woman who dated Maine U.S. Senate candidate Graham Platner, I'm quoting from the Political article here, says he forced her to have sex with him nearly 5 years ago, despite her repeated objection, and an allegation Platner denies. The woman, 41-year-old Maine resident named Jenny Racicot, detailed the alleged incident to Politico in 3 interviews over the past 2 weeks. Politico also spoke with the man Racicot dated and confided in the years after the alleged incident, and reviewed documents, including emails between Racicot and her therapist, and messages between Racicot and an acquaintance with whom she warned against getting involved with Platner years before he ran for office. So I think we can get this image up here. It might be a little bit out of order. There we go. So they shared certain images, screenshots from years ago, in which Racicot warned other people, do not get involved with this man. He forces himself against people. So what are the details? What are the allegations here? Quote, Raysicott said she had an on and off relationship with Platner, who is now the Democratic Senate nominee in Maine, for more than 2 years before he entered her rural Maine home uninvited, one night in late 2021, deeply intoxicated, and forced himself on her while she repeatedly told him to stop. She said she cut off contact with him after telling him the encounter was not consensual. Quote, I remember him grabbing my pelvis and being really forceful of me, she said. I remember the specific moment where I thought to myself, like, this is no longer my choice. And then, of course, the Platner campaign denies the allegations. We'll get into that. Now, why come forward? Why actually come forward now? What's the reason? Because Raysicott actually was named in that New York Times article back in June. Here's why. Raysicott said she felt compelled later to go public about her experience, quote, because the reaction to the Times story was dominated by controversy about another woman, Lindsay Fifield, who alleged Platner had mistreated her and faced attacks because of her ties to the Republican Party. So here's what happened. Lindsay Fifield, my friend, goes in front of the international media and says this is who he is, this is what he has done. The New York Times buried Lindsay Fifield's allegations and her testimony way down into the article. And also, like said, well, there's not really a whole lot of evidence of this, and there's nothing that corroborated that. And Lindsay Fifield later came out and said, here are the screenshots, the messages, the conversations of these things coming forward before I ever talked to you people, before Platner ever announced his run for Senate in Maine. But here's the kicker. Here's the extra spot. Well, what if this is another Republican, you say? Not that that would make this any better. She says, quote, this is Raysicott to Politico today. One of the reasons I didn't come forward sooner was the huge moral conflict that I had between supporting his politics, but not supporting him as a person, she said. I just want the truth out there. I just want people to have a whole scope of who he is as a person, end quote. That is insane. What's insane about it, you ask? That the lady here, Miss Raysicott, approached Politico and said, hey, Lindsay Fifield, the Republican, was treated so horribly by all of these Democrat allegations, and we're going to get into them here in a minute. Oh, it's so terrible that I, as a person who aligns with Graham Platner and Democrat stuff and possibly socialist stuff, this kind of democratic socialist populism of the Democrat youth, that I still had to come forward because of how absolutely awful and atrocious this was. Now, there are a lot of other details here that I'm not going to get into because they're truly atrocious. To remind you, though, this is Bernie Sanders' golden boy. This is yet another of the Democratic Socialists who are having the time of their lives in the summer. Again, amid all of these allegations, even back when all of this stuff was clear in June, Bernie Sanders, Senator of Vermont, still came forward and said, Graham Platner may be domestic abusing women, he may be a rapist, but I suppose he's my golden boy. I love him because he is not from Israel and he doesn't like the billionaires.
I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that Graham Platner is the next senator from the state of Maine.
And all the awkward cheering. Now, Graham Platner has run away from things before. Before I play you his little apology video and where he says some things that are, well, indicative that his goose is well and truly cooked. So when Town Hall approached him earlier last month and said, hey, you're on Kick Messenger. Are you messaging minors? Are you going to release these records? I mean, this is the site, the app, where the New York Times, the Washington Post, BBC, Wall Street Journal, Fox News, from MSNBC, MS Now, all the way over to Breitbart, from left to right. Outlets have pointed out that Kick is the message platform that predators use to contact minors. I mean, this has been referenced by Chris Hansen before, for example. And when he's asked about this, when he's asked to release those records, he just runs away.
Graham Platner, why were you on a kid's sex app?
You deserve to represent Maine.
Do you have no shame?
Are there more shoes to drop on your past?
I hear that. Are there more shoes to drop on your past? He has answered to his former or present colleagues, whatever you want to call them, 9 times now. 9 times. He has told them. Now, well, I know he's got the Nazi tattoo. I don't mean 9 as in with the funny little mustache. I mean 9 as in the number 9. 9 times he said, oh, this is it. All of the scandals are over. And this afternoon, I got a message from a friend of mine inside the DNC who said something is coming and it's not going to be pretty. And it just so, in fact, wasn't. We're going to get into his statement over here on the live stream radio crew. I have to kick you over to the commercial break for FCC regulation rules. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast. We're going to keep it going right here. See you guys in a second on the radio side. All right, they're off to the races. So here's, after all of this, here's what Graham Platner came before the entire world and said. There's some panic in his eyes. This ain't going well now.
I wanted to directly address the troubling, serious, and false allegations against me. Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically false. Over the last 10 months, I've been deeply humbled.
Okay, right off the bat, right here at the beginning, something that I noticed that a lot of other individuals may not. If you begin your apology video and it's all edited, meaning there are like cuts and breaks where they have to edit your video and little zooms in and out and maybe different angles, it's not an apology video. We're doing a little social media campaign here. But anyway, I'll let him continue. Oh, he's been really humbled that the people of Maine have found him a man worth fighting for. I mean, he gets out there and he's talking to all the good people of Maine, and he's out there saying, I'm just like one of you. Again, as William Wallace pointed out, that Robert the Bruce, feigning to be just another Scotsman, was not in fact enough to make things fit.
By the faith Mainers have put in me. You have welcomed me into your homes, into your places of work, into your restaurants, into your houses of worship. You have shown that a different kind of politics, one that puts the interests of people over corporations, is not just possible, but is inevitable. This movement we have built, the largest volunteer base in the history of Maine politics.
I'm so tired of this crap. I'm so tired of this. Every single Democratic Socialist crew who comes from Apron Strings, he came from Apron Strings. Again, mommy's little oyster restaurant kind of a thing. This boy who lied about the high school that he went to, just like Zoran Mamdani, who's like, I'm a man of the people. And his mom and dad are a movie producer and like a professor of foreign studies, who was a rapper and trust fund boy in his little shirtless apron, this kind of crap where you pretend to be one of the people. Stop this. There are several media figures and politicians from Maine pretending to be one of the people. Stop it.
The hundreds of thousands of grassroots donors and the supporters across the ideological spectrum.
No, the supporters come from two places. The far left, the corporatist Democrats in that who are bending the knee to the far left, and then like your Marjorie Taylor Greens and your Tucker Carlsons who think that the Jews are behind it all. But we'll get to Marjorie Taylor Greene here in a minute because she's already commented on this.
We were united in a love of Maine, a belief that our politics must change, and a focus on defeating Susan Collins. So, regardless of the inaccuracy of the reporting, but mindful of the political reality it will inflict.
Mindful of the political reality it will inflict. It sounds like your tone is changing there, Honcho.
We are taking the time to reflect on the best path forward for the state that I love, the people that I love, the movement I belong to, and the goal of defeating Susan Collins. Those were the goals when we launched this campaign, and they remain my goals today. On June 9th, 154,058 Mainers, the most in primary history.
This is not making the argument that you think it is.
Voted to reject a broken politics beholden to Washington and the donor class. They voted for hope, for change, to take back our economy, to take back our power, and to take back our Senate seat. Throughout it all, you never turned your back on me, and I will not turn my back on you now.
Hearing him say this with the individuals who are about to dump him like hot garbage, who are about to wheel him down to the road for trash pickup and sprint away because of the reek of rot and maggots coming from him, that's just funny.
Every one of you deserves to see that vision come to fruition and see Susan Collins defeated. And we will use every tool at our disposal to do so. As Maine goes, so goes the nation.
No one's ever said that. No one. No.
Thank you.
Now, he said a couple of interesting things. So, like, those of you who were supporters, I mean, just strange stuff. So now it gets better. So originally you had a couple of kind of the left-wing crew saying, oh, we're going to stand behind him. This is just more political, whatever. Nope. It's not happening, Captain, and I'm going to share with you why. Radio crew, welcome back from commercial break. So, of course, Susan Collins said, quote, these allegations are appalling. Nevertheless, it is not up to me to choose the Democratic nominee for Senate, end quote. She's correct. Well played by Collins. Let him make all of his mistakes. So, to be clear, what is the actual death knell for his campaign? That would be that the Maine Democrats have said, nope, absolutely not.
Nope.
Bye. Quote from the statement of the Maine Democratic Party leadership on allegations against Graham Platner. Quote, Maine Democratic Party leadership takes seriously our responsibility to hold every candidate who seeks to represent our state to the highest standard. Over the past several weeks, multiple women have made serious, credible allegations against Graham Platner. Today's statements take those allegations even further. So despite the fact they get down and say we need to do something quick because July 13th is, oh my gosh, it's like next week there, Scoob. What are we going to do? Maybe not elect a rapist, Raggy. I mean, why are they freaking out here? Because now that you have an actual Democratic socialist or a young lady on the left side of the aisle, this 41-year-old woman, Jamie, who came forward and said, I didn't like how the conservative woman was treated, who was domestically abused, allegedly, by Graham Platner. I'm now coming out and alleging more details and screenshots from way back then to corroborate. Here's what he did. Here's what was said. And then Politico went and interviewed those people. And credit to Politico where credit is due. Unlike the New York Times, who downplayed things and kind of moved things around, Politico did not do that. And I can only say that is due to some of the excellent reporting done by Adam Wren. I don't care whether or not he and I agree on politics or not. When it comes to the details of a story, I have never seen him change or obfuscate those things. And that deserves a high amount of praise to Politico for keeping him on the team as the head national politics correspondent. Now, I told you that things were falling out from under him, and indeed they are. So as a reminder, Ro Khanna, the last time that, by the way, the young lady here, Miss Ray Sicott, after she came forward to the New York Times and alleged what she had alleged, again, these details, we don't know why the New York Times didn't include them. Ro Khanna came forward and he did a huge rally on behalf of Graham Platner after abuse was already alleged, after all of the posts, after saying that he would dominate and rape someone who came into his house to rob him, not in a gay way, but to assert dominance. Anyway, here was Ro Khanna after coming back from a big rally for Graham Platner right after the last series of allegations.
Are you confident all the damaging info is out?
That's what he says. My sense is before the primary, a lot of this has come out.
Stupid. The reason that people like Ro Khanna and also some of the young Democrats out there have no idea how politics works. Guys, look, I'm more than happy to throw the establishment under the bus as much as the next guy. We're going to talk about Mitch McConnell a little bit later, I promise. All right, as the guy who has told you, more than a lot of my other colleagues in the general media space, the names of the senators standing in the way of getting rid of the filibuster on the GOP side, I have no love for the establishment. But if there is one thing that the establishment is good at doing, it's winning campaigns like this. And if you think that the RNC or the Senate Republican committees and all of the various other campaign arms of the GOP were not prepared well past a primary, you are on the very drugs that Graham Platner also said he was buying a couple of years ago.
Obviously, look, if there was evidence of violence, I would not support him. If there was evidence of sexual assault, I'd have zero support for him.
Are
now,
you confident?
He has come forward now and said, and again, that clip provided to us by Western Lensman, friend of the show. He said, I've been very, very clear. I love the little tweet statement he came out with. I've been very clear about sexual assault or violence against women is a red line. Now, again, violence against Lindsay Fifield was already alleged. That wasn't enough for him, though. Anyway, these allegations are very serious and credible. Why? Because it's a lady on the left that alleged them. Because a lady on the right had alleged them before, it was nothing. All of the sudden, though, it's me too when I'm blue. That's the rule. Graham Platner should drop out of the race. I am withdrawing my endorsement. Same thing came from Ruben Gallego, who is now 0 for 2. Remember, Ruben Gallego, initially, he stood by his buddy Eric Swalwell, the man who was essentially the Bill Cosby of California hotel rooms. These allegations against Graham Platner are troubling and deeply serious. I am rescinding my endorsement. You guys know what's funny? I've never had to rescind an endorsement because I don't endorse hot garbage. I know. Kind of crazy. Here's Ruben Gallego just a couple of days ago, giving him all of the support in the world. He's a decent man. There's good in his heart, Mr. Frodo.
This guy is an authentic man. He's not anti-Semitic, and more importantly, not more importantly, but just as important is that he's going to win this election. And we need to win elections. We cannot go another 4, 5, 6 years, trying to get the Senate back. We need to consistently win because whoever's going to be president in 2028, we need to hand them the House and the Senate.
So Tim Miller, who was just soft-handing this little interview a little bit ago, he's now angry because he says, quote, "I'm sorry, but we are taking time to reflect on the best path forward." That'd be what Graham Platner's campaign has said. "Is not an option on the table. Either it's false and you campaign with vigor, or it's true and you get out and apologize to everyone you let down." But that's the thing. That's the thing. There is no accountability. It is until I no longer see a path to the election, anything goes, anything is fine. And it's hilarious. Now we get to the other, criticisms and call outs, and it just gets worse from here. So Elisa Slotkin, who now sees this as an opportunity to be mom of the Democrat Party again, which is hilarious because she's getting ready to join in the Senate, possibly Democrat Abdul El Sayed, who we'll get to in a minute here. "Credible allegations of physical or sexual violence against women with independent corroboration can't be ignored, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, a private citizen or a senior leader like the President of the United States. Mr. Platner has denied the allegations. He has the right to defend himself. But at a certain point," what's the certain point, Elisa? What's the certain point? Oh, is it that the Democrat has now made the allegation instead of just the Republican? Those Reddit posts and the Nazi tattoo and the being on the app for messaging little children. And, the saying that you think some women deserve to be assaulted and that you also think that the veteran deserved to be shot. Miss Little Veteran Military Lady, Miss CIA Officer, or whatever. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yes, very, very muchly so. Thanks. We believe you. Now, there are a couple of other clips in here, but I wanted to share something with you that really irked me. So, Donna Brazil, this is retweeted by Jonathan Carl, because, of course it is. Donna Brazil, former DNC chairwoman, sent this out today right before 4 p.m. It's time for Mr. Platner to step aside and be replaced by July 13th, because, again, that's the cutoff day. If they wait until after July 13th, it's over. Platner is the Democrat on the ballot, and Susan Collins clocks him with one hand behind her back, as she was doing in the polls. That's why this is also coming out. The polling is getting worse and worse and worse. That's also the tipping point. If Susan Collins on Democrat polls is starting to lead 3, 4, 5 points, it ain't good there, Bob. Anyway, this is why Donna Brazil says he needs to step away. Enough is enough. He needs time to heal. Focus on his family and well-being. The alleged rapist needs time to heal? Are you freaking kidding me?
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Now, she must have realized that this was one of the most retarded statements of all time, because she then comes out and says, "This is bigger than any one person, Platner, or any one political party. Respect for women cannot be a partisan value." I love it. Respect for women, but the reason he needs to drop out is so that he has time to heal. No. And again, this brings us to all of his colleagues. Why does this matter? There are a couple of Democrats right now who are enjoying a comfortable lead. For example, former North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, who's doing his rootinest tootinest best to get in the Senate over Republican Michael Whatley. Well, if Roy Cooper is forced to talk about these things, it could be rather problematic for him. For example, Senator Angela Alsobrooks of Maryland, she said about him, well, maybe he's done bad things, but we need Democrats in the Senate. Yikes, Machiavelli. What a poem.
All Democrats.
What do you think about the controversies, the social media posts that leaked, and now this scandal of him soliciting?
I don't know him, honestly. I've never met him. What I do know is...
Crazy how quickly that happens. I don't know him. I never met him. I never seen him. See no, hear no, speak no evil.
That I'm supporting Democrats. We need Democrats in office to fight back against Donald Trump and other countries. We need Democrats. Okay. That's great. Radio crew, see you guys on the other side of your commercial break. We're going to get into this a little bit more on the live stream. And then it's time for El Sayed, the new hope of the party. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal. So look, we could play clips all day. Cory Booker.
Those opportunities to elect a new leader is in Maine. We have a competitive contest. Democrats just nominated Graham Platner, despite past offensive comments about a tattoo past offensive comments. He's got this tattoo that's associated with the Nazi symbol. He also said he didn't understand its meaning. He's covered it up. And he's also faced allegations from former girlfriends of abusive behavior.
Who we now find out one of those women made the credible allegation of sexual assault. But anyway.
Which he denies. Do you think Graham Platner has the character to serve in the United States Senate?
Well, this is what campaigns are for. He certainly has a lot of issues and a lot of questions to answer and address. And I think the people of Maine are going to give a lot of examination to this going through in this election. For me, I certainly hope we pick up a seat here. For me and people of the state of New Jersey, dear God, we need to get the Senate back. So,
oh, it's all about getting the Senate back. I mean, sure, Elizabeth Warren.
That's my kind of man.
Yeesh, yikes. Okay, now let's move a little bit forward. He does have some allies. Don't worry. I know you guys are terrified. Well, is everyone giving him up? Is it all over? What's going to happen? Are we going to see that finally the time is up and he's left completely destitute like Eric Swalwell? No, the man's got allies. Thank goodness. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. Who does he have? Who is his champion? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, you heard me right. Marjorie Taylor Greene has now come out and said that she doesn't, even though there are screenshots and text messages from that exact time where she said he forced himself on me, but because of his politics, I'm not going forward because I agree with him. I don't think this is the time. All of those things that have been corroborated, the records that are there. She now says that really the real people doing this to him, it's AIPAC and the Jews. I do find it interesting that Platner is hated by AIPAC and rape accusations show up years later from a woman who dated him. AIPAC hated Thomas Massie, too, and they rolled out the fake AI ads showing lies about him in a sex trio with AOC and Ilhan Omar. Okay, so first of all, if you know anything about the voters of Kentucky, Thomas Massie in an AI photo, let's say in a compromising position with AOC and Ilhan Omar, that's not going to dissuade voter. That's not, no. But aside from that, this reads like the sorority treasurer's speech. I am so proud of the girls at Omega Delta Kappa Phi Mino who told me that the Jews are coming for Graham Platner. Incredible. I love it. I love it. Again, this is a woman who's been citing all of these Epstein victims trying to get justice. Marjorie Taylor Greene refused to name any names. I know, truly shocking. Gasp. Quelle surprise. So congratulations on getting the faction of the party. Good for you, Graham Platner. That's some exciting stuff. So who do we shift to? We got to go somewhere. Who's the next hope of the party? If they don't have Graham Platner, who's the Democratic socialist with all these kids, who's the Senate leader? James Tallarico is too gay and atheist to do it. So who do you go for? The Muslim from Michigan.
So on the one hand, you have Abdul El-Sayed, who is the biggest and I think most important Senate candidate in the country. Yes, even more important than Graham Platner in Maine. On the other, you have Haley Stevens, the establishment member of Congress, very well-funded candidate who is trying to stop him on.
I love this so much. I do. That the very well-funded from former CNN host before they gave him the old boot, because he wasn't pulling any ratings or he was also a serious legal liability. Chris Cillizza, who's now an independent Substacker guy. That's right. Michigan is the place to win. Interesting. All right, to our great radio crew, welcome back from your commercial break. So who are they going to? If Platner is finished, who's the next guy? Who are we going with? The progressive socialist Democrat and open Islamist, El-Sayed. He's going to win the Dearborn votes.
August 4th. I just think this is a critically important primary to watch over this next month because Abdul El-Sayed's not going to walk away from his liberal positions. Stevens is going to paint him as too much of a risk, that he hangs out with Hassan Piker and he believes in Medicare for all. And
believe it or not, among a lot of Michigan voters, for example, among a lot of the union base, not the union leadership, because the UAW, just like with Kamala Harris, have already thrown in their towel behind the socialist progressive El-Sayed. It's like, oh, he's friends with Hassan Piker. And Chris says this as though that's a nothing burger. The man who said America deserved 9/11 and wants to violently overthrow the country, who openly called for the murder of Rick Scott from Florida, who by the way, I should point out here, just for transparency's sake, that even Hassan Piker at this point, even old Hassan Piker himself, has now come forward and said that Graham Platner is now too rapey, problematic, disturbing, etc. for him. And I think that we actually have that clip ready to go. Do we? Yeah, we do.
Incident to Politico. In 3 interviews over the past 2 weeks, Politico also spoke with a man Rascott dated and confided in the years after the alleged incident, and reviewed documents including emails between Rascott and her therapist and messages between Rascott and acquaintance. That is curtains. Okay. Mossad paid her ass? No. That is the trifecta. Okay.
I love this so much. I do. So when even the far left socialist streamer, Marxist communist streamer Hassan Piker has to say, no, it's not Mossad. It's not the Jews. It's the fact that he's a terrible person. I love that. I find that great. And the reason I say that is that, again, after the young man, the gay guy with the trans furry boyfriend, who killed Charlie Kirk, again, who's now in those legal trials beginning here. Anywho, Tyler Robinson, that even Nick Fuentes had to come forward and say about Marjorie Taylor Greene, no, she's really stupid. It's not Israel. No, Candace Owens is really stupid. It's not Israel. I just find it funny when even like the fringe crazies also think you're dumb. Anywho, we'll let Chris continue the hope of the party, the hope.
All these other things, like, you know, he's a wacko leftist and he can't win in a swing state like Michigan. Number one, does McMurrow dropping out, does she endorse a candidate? Is it Stevens? Is it Abdul El-Sayed? That's obviously something to keep an eye on. But does McMurrow dropping out help Stevens significantly?
All right. Let's talk about the dropouts. So El-Sayed, again, nutcase, we've covered him before. Let's talk about who dropped out. So we just saw Mallory McMorrow, one of the Democrat Senate candidates, this young redhead, very, very full of herself, who just ran with like the, you go girl, she's got boss energy. Well, she's dropping out because not only has she been booed, not only has she been mocked, she brings nothing to the table, by which I mean she's not a crazy man advocating for the violent overthrow of the government or transing children openly, that kind of a thing. And so that when I say that she was full of herself, I mean, her account had tweets, her rolling up to the Democratic committee in Michigan, flanked by a kid holding a fat head of herself and a marching band saying, quote, "This is what we call McMorrow-mentum." She was polling at 6% a week later, and she's now officially dropped out. So, of course, Bernie Sanders, who really can't pick him, he steps and goes, AIPAC, another billionaire funded, hold on. AIPAC, another billionaire funded super PACs are spending millions to buy the Democratic primaries in Michigan and Minnesota. This is not about Abdul El-Sayed or Haley Stevens or Peggy Flanagan or Randy Craig. It's about Abdul and Peggy versus the Jews, the AIPAC, and the establishment. The Jews, you cannot believe it. Only leftist billionaires like George Soros and, of course, the oh-so-great and now under federal investigation, Neville Singham of China. Those are the only ones allowed to donate to mass campaigns. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't share that over the weekend, El-Sayed, really rallying the voters. He did a little Taylor Swift video of himself that hurts my very soul, so you're also going to have to see this. So he steps out in a black V-neck and a Party City America flag cowboy hat.
She wears short skirts, I wear t-shirts.
So he says, so he wears fancy suits, I wear black V-necks, and then I'm a public health official and he's a pharma lobbyist, and basically he's like, I'm Taylor Swift. So now we're doing the James Tallarico, be as gay as possible and elect me. Yes, I am so Beto O'Rourke, ladies. Please get out and vote for me. I am so great. And then there's people awkwardly doing like the awkward electric slide shuffle at like a senior home dance behind him. It's just yeesh. I'm not playing that one in full because I really don't want Taylor Swift and her private jet to be copy striking me across the media platforms. That brings us over to Francesca in the great state of Wisconsin. So Francesca Hong is the Democratic Socialist who they're also rallying behind in Wisconsin. And she has gone from having a polling position of 3% to now, according to Wedgwood polling among likely voters, she is at 30%, Barnes, another Democratic gubernatorial candidate, at 28%, Rodriguez at 19%. And she is up 47 to 44 against Republican Tiffany. Why? Because she's the same insane nutcase on the Democratic Socialists think this is their moment. As long as he doesn't get out there and get completely torn apart on rape allegations, you should be fine. That's what they're gaming on. That's what they're hoping.
Now we're going to do rapid fire. Super easy,
look, it's
super
Hassan
simple.
Biker.
Rapid fire. Do you support repealing Act 10?
Yes.
Universal child care?
Yes.
Free school meals?
Yes.
Guaranteed paid leave?
Yes.
Abolishing ICE?
Yes.
A 1-year data center moratorium?
Yes.
Breaking up big ag?
Yes.
Public grocery stores?
Yes.
Right
Oh, yeah, bread lines. Woohoo!
to repair?
Yes.
Legalizing cannabis?
Yes.
Overturning Citizens United?
Yes.
A workers' bill of rights?
Yes.
A free Palestine?
Yes.
Again, Workers' Bill of Rights means price control, actual price control. And then, of course, the most important issue to the voters from Wisconsin, Palestine. Incredible, beautiful, love it. Here she is going off on it. They are so predictable. They want to win the primary. They have nothing for a general election, as you're finding out with Graham Platner and Susan Collins right here, right now. And there's panic setting in because unless you're in New York or California, this doesn't fly everywhere. The polling shows that too. But anywho, here again, all in on thinking, well, if we don't go all in on the Islamists in Palestine, oh no, it's all about Israel, then we just don't have a party.
The people deserve leaders who lead with moral courage and moral clarity. And the litmus test is to say explicitly that what is happening in Gaza is a genocide. I authored the right to boycott law, which is a bill that is a clean repeal of the state's current anti-BDS legislation.
So there are a lot of the Democratic Socialists of America. And again, I have another clip that I'll play kind of after this that shows you the leadership of that party and what it is they're very, very clearly and openly advocating for. But it should be made explicitly clear right here, right now, that this is not even going to poll union voters. We saw this in the Trump election between Trump and Kamala. If you think that Democrat, kind of Bill Clinton 90s populist union voters in Detroit, is it Clinton Township or Allison Township, just north of Detroit, which is that? Addison Township, and then, is it Clinton Township? And this is going to bother me because I make this mistake all the time. Clinton Township, right north of Detroit. There we go. So that right after the Kamala Harris team went all in on the LGBTQ plus 2IA stuff, the actual Ford Assembly plant workers at Clinton Township told me on the picket line they would rather support Trump. If you really think that the union workers in Milwaukee and in Detroit are going to step up for this, Allison on the WIBC board, you might want to have your hand over the dump button. I did not get a chance to vet this clip for naughty words. Anyway, Democratic Socialists of America leader right here.
And, we have a unique responsibility to act from the heart of empire, the belly of the beast. The most important thing that we can do is take that empire down from within.
The most important thing, we got to take down the American empire. We got to violently overthrow the country.
Our role ultimately is to facilitate our own empire's failure in ways that we can.
It's not about you. It's not about the worker. None of these people, all of these are rich little socialists whose mommies and daddies made lots of money. And then these eternal students. Again, there are candidates who won in New York who have taken 7-8 years to get a doctoral program, like in sociology or foreign studies, and haven't even taken a job. Graham Platner works a fake oyster farm. Zoran Mamdani was just a little rapper, shirtless in an apron, living off of mommy and daddy. Bernie Sanders never worked a job in his life. And a lot of these people saying they've never put in a day's wages. I was debating, because that's my job during the day, a individual today that used to be Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, former comms person. And he now is an NGO leader. And he's like, I'm from Western Tennessee, and I'm really in touch with the worker. He just so happens to work with a bunch of people who have never done a day's work in their entire life. And neither is he. Radio crew, we'll see you guys on the other side of the commercial break. We're going to continue here on the live stream. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast. All right, we'll let all the fat, angry lesbian activists and whatnot talk about how much they hate the United States. We'll get one more clip here for this.
Imperialism is U.S. imperialism is not a thing that can be reformed away. It has to be overthrown through revolutionary struggle. And to build a mass movement that can use the leverage of workers to...
None of these people have ever been workers of any kind.
Hit the kill switch on American imperialism.
Just like Marxism, just like Bolshevism, it's not actually led by the worker. It never is. It isn't. It is led by all of these rich elites who then when you finish, they will sit around and do cushy job. Like, I'm going to do poetry and lesbian thought giving in the sand. And of course, you and I know that's completely ridiculous. Now, again, she's gaining in the polls. And as Emma Vigeland, one of the big campaigners for Democratic Socialists of American candidates, told Politico, quote, "It's a DSA summer. We can't stop racking up wins. We're seeing the culmination of 10 years of democratic socialism becoming more mainstream. The problem is, according to the general polling, it is deeply unpopular. It is deeply unpopular, obviously on the right, because a lot of these candidates, in fact, the vast majority will just outright say that they believe in Marxian ideals like seizing the means of production. That's that workers' Bill of Rights, very openly. To say, oh, it's your right to seize the means of production and outlaw any kind of capital gains or investment in the country. Like, outlaw completely. They're outraged over the Trump accounts being put into play today. Why? Because they're furious at the idea that an entire generation will be made millionaires. Why? Because of the investing and growth in the stock market instead of the steady drip feed and the total failure of Social Security. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt's hellhole abomination that completely ruined any thoughts towards a program that actually might work as a social safety net. So, anywho, that's shuffled a little bit over to the side. That brings us to the 4th of July, and of course, Zoran Mamdani. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Zoran Mamdani, the leader of this little pack who's taking over for Bernie Sanders, he gets out there with a big, huge 4th of July, big slamma-mamma-jamma speech, and he sits at George Washington's desk backwards, and behind him he has a very diverse group of incredible and amazing people, and here we go.
Today, our nation marks 250 years since we declared our independence. When we look at America, what do we see? Here at City Hall, as I sit behind George Washington's desk, alongside new Americans who came to this country, I cannot see all of America. But like so many who came before, I can see New York City. That legacy of every generation of Americans insisting that the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness extends to them too, is no relic of the past. For generation after generation, we have been told that when the world has sent its people to our shores, it has not sent its best.
Well, it would depend on where the individuals have come from. Like, just so that you know, there were quotas in place for a long time, not because of colors, but because of the cultures that were active when individuals came from those places. You can say all that you want about the anti-immigration regarding the Irish and the Italians in New York. It is, in fact, the Irish that built the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I want to make that clear. Irish immigrants built Kentucky. They absolutely did. And to pretend that, like, the United States was super duper racist to them just because of New York is ridiculous. And again, that plays to the radio crew joining us just now. Mamdani gets before the country, again, right on the 4th, and he does this big performative outrage video over how the United States is only good because we have immigrants. And again, don't ask any questions about the cultures or what those people believe or any of the insane things. Don't ask that. All you need to know is that an Irishman who built Kentucky, who built New York, who built many cities, an Italian who built this country, who assimilated, who became a core and integral part of our nation, a Polish man, immigrants from Spain to Germany, South American countries, African countries who came here and assimilated, that those people are just the same as the third world immigrants and migrants, the mass migration system coming over to the country right now, and are burning and wire frauding and doing all of the various other things that are unpopular with the majority of Americans.
Sent Puritans and Sikhs and Quakers and Muslims and Jewish people who were banished for praying the wrong way, worshiping the wrong gods.
Banished from where? Where were Jews banished from for praying the wrong way? Zoran?
Angering the wrong people. We are told that America is exceptional because we are richer, stronger, more powerful than everyone else.
Wrong. America is exceptional because Americans built that stuff. Americans made us richer. Americans made us exceptional. The idea that everyone who was here when the country was founded sat on their hands and drank while we brought in immigrants to do all of the work ignores every single facet of history. You cannot just, and this is the real fun part. The answer is that immigrants who assimilated were just as much responsible as those who were here at the nation's founding together for building a common culture and country that others who came and assimilated to were wildly successful, and those who did not come and assimilate to did not make it. Again, this used to be the thing of New York. You can make it here, you can make it anywhere. That was the idea. But then the government subsidized things and made it a non-issue. Removing the incentive, the necessity being the mother of invention, was scrapped. He has no idea, no concept of this. He just has smarm.
The truth, my friends, is that America is exceptional because here, nothing is fixed into place. It belongs to...
He says that, of course, because he despises the United States Constitution and the laws that we have and the people who are here.
...to our newest Americans, those standing here with me today, all of whom were recently naturalized. Nearly a decade ago, I too felt what you feel, the joy of no longer being just a New Yorker, but an American too.
Again, there's the argument that, well, if you just exist here, then you're therefore an American. You're a New Yorker, you're a Los Angelesian, you're a Seattleanopolis, that kind of crap.
You each hold a special power to determine what America means. The powerful have always known their answer. America, in their view, is an arena of supremacy, where only a select few are allowed freedom.
Again, this would be fine if this were perhaps the year 1931, kind of. And by the way, it would get torn apart then. The syndicalists made this argument in the 20s, that the American age of industry had created all of these men and these family fortunes, and they had profited off of the backs of Americans and all this stuff. Even then, it was completely shredded and disproven because those families created the wealth of this country from nothing. They extracted the resources from the ground and turned them into completely game-changing things that lifted millions and would eventually lift billions out of poverty. And that, again, there are too many stories of megalo millionaires and billionaires starting in their garages in the 80s, the 70s, and the 80s, and the 90s for this to work. The vast majority of the 1% in this country, like the super duper majority of the 1%, has not been in the 1% all their lives. Not even close. There is no generational massive wealth transfer per capita here in this country, and there never has been. He's lying. It's just not true.
Where not all are created equal. How small they are. How weak. How unoriginal.
Says the man who's only ever contributed rapping, shirtless, in an apron. That's all he's ever built. That's all he's ever provided.
At every moment in our past, those who led through exclusion and isolation have tried to win power and enrich themselves by turning us against one another.
As a reminder, the employees, the janitors for SpaceX, were turned into millionaires by the shares that they had in SpaceX when the company went public. Janitors at the company who just stuck there and cleaned the floors were made into millionaires because of investment. I don't talk about this a lot. I have family on my mom's side who came from who are in the southern hills of Indiana, and a family member of mine who was not an expressly wealthy individual, but because he invested part of his salary as either a mechanic or a salesman in Ford from the 90s into the aughts, he became rather wealthy at a time when a lot of individuals weren't, because Ford was producing quality automobiles, again, in the late 90s and the early aughts, and he became wealthy. Previously, not wealthy. I mean, this is a true story of America that he refuses to acknowledge, and this is what he's selling.
Division is the oldest trick in politics, and the cheapest.
He just said that he said a bunch of divisive stuff, us versus them. Well, division is the smarm, the gaslighting.
Time and again, including 250 years ago, those forces of division have been vanquished by the forces of progress.
And again, it is those who were investors, those who gave their considerable wealth. We've talked about the 56, the 58, the founding fathers, the 56 delegates signing the Declaration of Independence. Those individuals, many of whom gave their entire fortunes never to see their families again, who were drawn, who were quartered, who lost everything. Where was the enriching of themselves that I'm told so much about? King George was trying to tax all of their wealth away. Why are you not on his side in this?
As we mark 250 years, what do we see? We see a city of contradictions within a nation of contradictions. One where children go to sleep hungry while the world's first trillionaire hungers for more.
There are fewer children that go to sleep hungry in the United States than in any other country on earth. The United States has lifted more children out of poverty than any other nation on earth, and it's not even close. Not even close. Where are the other bread baskets, huh? France, Germany, Ukraine, where you at? Huh? Where you at? Argentina, with its massive fields of beef and its corn industry. Where is it? Where are they? Huh? Tell me. Where are the numbers per capita of raising children out of poverty and starvation? The United States has so much wealth that our charities have charities.
We see masked agents terrorizing our streets, eating food cooked by our undocumented neighbors before spiriting them away in unmarked vans.
It's just such garbage. It's such garbage. Best of luck with this. He got roasted for this on America's 250th, and for good reason. For very, very good reason. Now, as an aside, we're going to shift over to some of Trump's speech here in a couple of minutes. We're going to keep a very short bonus section this evening because the United States is playing Belgium, and there's a whole bit of updates we got to get you up to date on regarding the red card situation, Trump appealing to FIFA, and this upsetting a whole host of individuals, which is, I mean, it's funny. Not just the Europeans that are really upset right now that the United States is still in the World Cup, because FIFA hates it when the United States is still in the World Cup, but that America dominating at the world sports stage. And, well, it's going to be a fun match. So we're going to cover some of that as well. Radio crew, thank you for an excellent evening. I know that your broadcast hour is at a close. We're going to continue on the live stream, youtube.com/Daily Signal. Join us here. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated and first on 93 WIBC. All right, now the radio crew is away to their evening in the broadcast. Trump's 4th of July speech, it was pretty good. It was. The man said, I'm not going to sit down and do nothing. I'm not going to reschedule it for tomorrow. We're doing it. Rain be damned. Here's Donald Trump.
This country is the home of freedom. This is the land of liberty. And this is a flag that's the banner of the most extraordinary, most exceptional, most incredible nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And we're doing better now than we've ever done before.
That message is unifying. Why? Because it doesn't ask the question whether or not you're an immigrant or you're not an immigrant, or you're white or you're black or you're brown or you're yellow or red or white. They are precious in His sight. No. It's those who have contributed to the utmost exceptionalism of this country. This banner stands for you. We will carry it forward. We are a pioneering people. Manifest destiny, Pax Americana. The president continues.
No people have done more good, shown more courage, made more progress, righted more injustice, or achieved more greatness than you, the American people. For 250 years, the United States of America has been the hope, the promise, the light, and the glory among all of the nations of the world. All over the world, they try and be like us. Nobody can be like us. And with God's help, we will always be this or even better. We're going to be better. Here on our national mall, we're celebrating freedom's triumph over tyranny, liberty's conquest over oppression, and the enduring victory of the American spirit from the July 4th, 1776 to July 4th, 2026. Big dates. That's big dates. Two big ones.
Now, again, what you'll notice here is the president of the United States, for all you're told he's a white Christian nationalist and all this other nonsense, I seem to notice that the president of the United States has made it clear that every individual who has carried the banner and assimilated, who has joined the American dream, not just who's come here and mooched, not just who's come here and refused to learn the language, not just who has come here and essentially pursued after their own interests, but those who came here and, if necessary, sacrificed their lives for this country and did so to preserve this idea that is not just an idea, it's not just some ethereal thing that you can just seek after, but it is the great American experiment which demands the responsibility of her citizens, not just the privileges, not just the wonders that you and I get to experience, but also demands that you honor this country, that demands that you pursue interests that are in the benefit of your county, of your state, and of this country, and demands that you do so upon a set of Christian values that the founding fathers, from the most deist of them, the Thomas Jeffersons and the Ben Franklins, all the way to the most Christian of these individuals, understood that a nation founded upon the biblical principles of Christianity and the Western philosophy that came out of Jerusalem and Athens, that is what can create a country that could right the wrongs of the absolutionist constitutional monarchies that ruined the United Kingdom and France and a whole host of other nations that are no longer with us. And that did not just act as Spain, hoarding the gold and treasuries, and did not just act as the redistributionist pirate states that would later become famous for the United States burning of them, and on the shores of Tripoli, for example. That it was, in fact, that American spirit and the people who created it that were worth celebrating. And then, of course, the president said something that really upset a lot of the journalists. Of course, he said that we're never going to become a communist country. Correct.
We're calling for a red card. Because look, he doesn't even see...
Oh, wait a minute. That's not the right clip. That's the red card clip. I got way too excited. So hang on just a second here. It's thanks, producer Jen. Yeah, I've got the clip. Trump on the Trump on the communists. Here you go.
This country is the home of freedom. This is the land of liberty. And this is a flag that's the banner of the most extraordinary, most exceptional, most incredible nation ever to exist on the face of the earth.
I think we've got maybe the wrong clip here. You know what? That's okay. You can find it all over social media. I'm sure you've seen it by now. Of course, the president of the United States saying, we're not a communist country and we never will be. That upset a lot of individuals, various and sundry. That's not the only thing the president did that upset a lot of people. That's not. The president also intervened after a very bizarre situation in which the star player of the team was given a red card, and that's the clip that I started to play accidentally there. Here you can see.
We're calling for a red card. Because look, he doesn't even see Muharemovic coming.
So Balogun right there, star player of the team, goes up against the Bosnian player, stumbles over him.
On the outside of him, and he jumps in front.
And the ref, Klaus from FIFA, he gives him a red card. Trump didn't like that, so Trump reached out and he called FIFA. This is what Trump said about that later on.
So I saw the play. And I'm a person that loves sports and was a good athlete. And I understand sports really well. And that wasn't a foul. That wasn't even an infraction. That was two guys running full speed that happened to crash into each other. You can't take your foot and properly place it on somebody else's foot when you're going, no, these were two great athletes that got tangled up. And this referee, who is a little bit suspect, if you check his past, I don't want to say that because I don't like to create controversy, but very suspect. If you'd like, I'll provide you with the past. He made a call that nobody could believe. You know, even people on the other side, they say, "Oh, we got lucky. Wow, that's." And it's very interesting. They say they don't show them in slow motion. And I never realized that. I never heard of that before. That they're not allowed to review in slow motion because it's so different. Because you'll take one little quarter of a second and you'll see that a hand is touching a neck or you'll see something.
So what actually happened in the call? Trump called him and was like, well, according to the actual rules, he doesn't need to be suspended this next game. FIFA's rules, he's fined $40,000 after disciplinary proceedings. His one-match suspension has been suspended for a year, allowing the U.S. to remain eligible for tonight's round of 16 match against Belgium. The disciplinary committee finds Balogun guilty of serious foul play and misconduct, and says the red card wasn't overturned, and just says that they have, according to Article 27, they say it can, he can be on probation for a year and they can delay the game that he has to miss. Again, it was a very, very weird foul. The left is losing their minds over this. There are several left-wing hosts who are very, very upset that the president intervened here. Like, oh, it's so corrupt and terrible. How could the United States do this? Sure. Very, very, very special, thrilling, exciting stuff indeed. I'm looking forward to the United States tonight, and we're going to be closing up here in just a couple of minutes after a final couple of stories because I want to get to this game. Now, a couple of updates on the Graham Platner side of the story here. Elizabeth Warren has now seen enough, and she says that we need standards, and Graham Platner is done. I don't like him anymore. Again, a couple of days ago, my kind of guy, Cory Booker, also calling on him to step aside right after he says he's fine. Seth Moulton, I love all of these various things. It really cracks me up. Jon Favreau, one of the Pod Save America hosts and also Obama's speechwriter, said on April 30th, Graham Platner isn't just our best and only chance to beat Susan Collins. He's a good, decent man who struggled and grown and is always trying to do better. Now he's flipped and said Graham Platner needs to step out. I love it. I do. Senator Ed Markey can't support his candidacy. The man's done. The man's done. He's dropping out. I mean, if he doesn't drop out and they really try to go this solo, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. I think he's out. Mark Kelly of Arizona. I love it. This is Adam Schiff, deeply troubling. I urge him to consider what's best for Maine voters. He's cooked. He's finished. He's out of here. He's done. It ain't going so well. All right. Now, that said, kind of put into place, there is one extra little story here that I wanted to mention. That's Mitch McConnell. So Mitch McConnell, you may recall, Senator of Kentucky, ancient of days. Mitch McConnell, he went to the hospital a month ago because as new reports came out from TMZ in Washington a month later, here early in end of June, early July, he was found unconscious. And there were questions as to why. Again, he's been seen sleeping, freezing, that kind of a thing. So Laura Loomer cited today, said, quote, high-level source close to the White House tells me, quote, Mitch McConnell is officially brain dead. He's not coming back, end quote. Now, I want to make this clear. I do not initially, upon seeing her reporting, trust or mistrust Laura Loomer. I don't. I find that Laura Loomer is sometimes not very reliable. So I'm going to take that with a grain of salt, that he's currently dead. He's brain dead and he's not coming back. And that, why is Elaine Chao in China instead of by his side? Is she a Chinese spy, she says? How does the wife of one of the most powerful U.S. senators just travel to China? Is she coming back? I don't have all of the inside details on this yet because I've reached out to a couple of friends inside the administration for comment. And what they have told me is that we have no idea what she's talking about here. That's it. Those are the responses I've gotten back. Now, could that not be true? Sure, it could not be true. Could what Laura Loomer is saying be true? Sure, it could be true. Do I have enough evidence right here and right now to tell you all of the inside salacious details based on things? No. Should Mitch McConnell have run for re-election last time? No. Dude's old. Should have stepped aside. Should have had a Republican candidate instead of trying to keep Mitch around forever. These are the problems and the gambles that you take in play. They are. It's a problem. Because again, Andy Beshear is the governor of Kentucky and the dude's a Democrat. So having a Democrat in the position until a special election can be held, kind of a problem, one might say. So that said and aside, I cannot help but just be right up front with you guys when it comes to Mitch McConnell and whether or not he's alive or he's dead. I mean, he's not red. I guess I can take that. Independent journalist Desiree Townsend, I guess, whoever this is now reporting that, he suffered a cardiac arrest and he's on life support since then. I do not know any of this yet. All I can say is there's a lot of open source accounts that are doing a lot of clickbaiting and click whoring. I don't really care for that with y'all. You'll notice it's not in the title. It's not in the description. A lot of you've asked about it and I'm trying to answer it. But am I going to tell you there are all of these details out yet? No. Because some of the individuals that I've just cited here during the Biden administration were saying a bunch of stuff that wasn't true about ambulances rushed to Air Force One. Nope. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that again. I make it very clear when I'm speculating or when I have a source that's speaking off the record, and I do not make it the hinge of the story. So that said, I don't also want to make it all about that either. So last and certainly not least, I did want to address one question because we're going to have to get into more of the mail time tomorrow. We're not going to be able to hit anywhere close to this on, all of the other bits and pieces here. As to my thoughts on the Tyler Robinson thing, because I was a friend of Charlie Kirk's. Now, again, Charlie, did he ever talk to me about like deep political stuff? No. We engaged in some like evangelical to evangelical banter from time to time. And he and I would make some comments about certain things. But like Charlie never confided in me. He looked after me after I was fired from Indianapolis Public Schools and got into the whole politics world side of things full time. So as far as the case in Tyler Robinson, why haven't I been talking about it? He's very likely to get the death penalty, and he should. I think he should be hanged by the neck until dead for what he did to Charlie, very openly. The left, on the very far LGBTQ plus Democratic Socialist side, they very openly want to kill you. they will take the steps necessary to kill you and do those things. And whatever it takes to do so. We saw the ambush on the ICE facility by the young socialists and the anarchists and the Islamists. We've seen it consistently. You don't need to go looking for conspiracy theories. They will gladly say, I'm going to kill you. Here I am in videos and pictures, training with rifles and explosives. I gladly send anyone who has concerns about this to Andy No, ANDYNGO. He's been on the show several times with the post-millennial crew. Libby Emmons, phenomenal dude, has been covering this for ages. Literally had to flee the country because they tried to kill him. I mean, why haven't I talked about it? Because, I mean, again, I really wish that Utah would, again, lead the nation. And instead of talking about firing squad silliness or lethal injections or whatever, I think he should be hanged. Again, making that very, very clear. But am I really worried about it? No, because like Marjorie Taylor Greene going all in for Graham Platner or Candace Owens, who is illiterate, I don't really care what they have to say. It's like Tucker saying he's going to found a third party. I don't care. That's not really news. That's not going to shape and shake things as much as they believe that it is. So that said and aside, death penalty, Alfred's mom says, for the man that killed Irina Zarutska as well. Wholeheartedly. Oh, and on that, do I have any thoughts about the white nationalists or whatever in masks who showed up at DC and rode the subway? No, I don't. I don't care what a bunch of dorks in masks get up and do. There are a lot of dorks in masks. I would ask the Lincoln Project and the SPLC where they were for the weekend, since they're funding and supporting so many of those causes in the back. With that said, I'm going to go watch the USA versus Belgium. That's right. I hope the Americans do phenomenally this evening. If they don't, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Graham Platner's stuff is burning. The DSA, they may have won the primary. They may have won the battle. They're about to lose the war. We're going to talk about that more tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on The Daily Signal, nationally syndicated and first on 93 WIBC. Y'all, take care.